Virgos, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for October 3rd through the 9th, 2016. I'm Athen, and this is for Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below because the signs are different. All right, so Virgos, this week we have a lot going on astrologically speaking. I do want to start off by saying happy birthday for those of you Virgos who have your birthdays this week, who are watching for your sun sign. But all in all, there's a lot of positive energy for all of you, whether it's your sun, moon, or ascendant, regarding your sign. You had a new moon in your first house last week. You got Jupiter in your sign right now at the moment. Mercury shifting into here, which is your ruler, where he's exalted. And so it's coming out of what I think has been a very spiritual time, the earlier part of last month in September. More about transformation, change, healing, 12th house, spiritual development, which is still very important. I think it's still a great time with the North Node and the 12th to learn about yourself spiritually, to get that alone time, to develop yourself through meditation, yoga, prayer, whatever it is that you do to connect to the essence of life. And so with that being said, we do have a lot of aspects going on this week involving those two key areas. One is that Saturn is squaring up to the North Node, being very important because it's involving two very slow-moving planets, so collectively significant here. And again, this is a great week for you to establish your spiritual development, to connect to your beingness, and to take that seriously with Saturn. And Saturn has recently shifted into your third house this year, so it's been an excellent year for you to take seriously your learning, your reading, writing. Some of you can be doing that, maybe on a productive level. It's such a good time to have self-limitation. In other words, patience, persistence, and discipline when it comes to the mental side of life. If you're learning, some of you are doing a lot of correspondence, writing, some of you exchanging, anything that has to do with your community or trading. Great things to work hard towards and be patient towards, and this week is certainly no exception with that. So these are two key areas for you, the 12th house and the third house. It's also the house of, again, spirituality and the mind. So I think it's a good week to see how you can, again, have patience with the mind, be aware of the mind, bring in that conscious awareness, which can help you find peace, tranquility, and move into that spiritual development. Now, I do want to mention that when a planet squares the North Node, it is also squaring the South Node. So in this sense, it's saying that there might be some old patterns that have to do with the work or the routine, the everyday experiences, or wanting to have things controlled or fixed. And so if you're feeling like things need to be improved in your life or with yourself or something like that, but it's taken to an extreme, do be aware of that this week, because square up to the South Node is suggesting a good week for spiritual development in the sense of releasing these old tendencies, these old patterns to want to have perfection or want to have things a certain way. And what that'll do is, as you release these old patterns and you break these old patterns, it is going to help you, again, move towards that life path, which is pulling you towards having acceptance in your life, surrendering, finding peace, going with the flow, and all these things that come up as a result of that detachment. All right, Saturn here can be helping you do that constructively. Again, Saturn is long-term results, so being patient with this, both with your spiritual development and the work, as well as that mind and your correspondence and communication. And in that way, I think you'll be working very constructively with this T-square. All right, so within that context, we do have other things going on. Venus is going to be going into Libra, where she's in dignity, which is nice, coming out of your sign, which she's actually not comfortable in. She's debilitated in Virgo. So things could be shifting here with your enjoyments of life, your second house, your material security, perhaps, depends on your personal chart, so maybe some things to enjoy with that. Your inner security in a sense of your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, some new values shaping up. And I think just all in all, being grateful for what you have in life and enjoying what you have in life. And you can be perhaps attracting some of those values to you over the next few weeks there. Now, as we talked about, Mercury shifting into Virgo. So right at the beginning of the week, you all should be feeling perhaps a bit of shift coming out of, again, a more internal time period. And it's just such an excellent time for you to be setting your goals, getting in touch with the things you want in your life, your personal needs, getting in touch with yourself, learning more about yourself through action, moving things forward. And all in all, just becoming independent. That's what the first house is fundamentally about. And Jupiter's here helping you see the potentials with that, maybe expand those horizons with yourself and your personal needs. And yeah, this last new moon, we're still very much in the early phases of that. So a great week to continue to move those things that have to do with you and your life in general forward. And it's really the solar new beginning here of the year for all of you, whether you're watching for your sun, moon, or ascendant sign. All right, so that's going to be the shifts there. Now, Venus is going to be sextiling up to the North Node at the beginning of the week, perhaps giving a bit of easier energy or opportunity here to move into this life direction of surrender, faith, acceptance in your life. And the Sun is going to be sextiling up to Saturn, giving you perhaps some productive energy. Again, maybe having to do with the self or just feeling a bit reserved, a bit grounded. Is certainly possible this early part. Venus sextiling up to Pluto, again, good positive energy for your values, enjoying the simple life, being grateful for what you do have. There's certainly an opening for that. Now, those are all minor things going on. Another very important thing going on, though, is that Mars is going to be squaring up to Jupiter this week. So this is Mars, who's recently shifted into your fourth house. You may have been noticing that there's a bit of motivation here to cultivate your roots in life, whether it's to cultivate some things relating to your home, maybe your family, your personal life, and maybe even your health. So it is a great week for you to channel that energy into those areas, because the fact of the matter is that although there's planets in your first house, your energy levels, or at least your motivations, might be at a bit of a low. Mars isn't as comfortable in the fourth house. He is in Sagittarius, so for you it's not all that low, but he's at the bottom. He likes to be at the top. So if you are feeling like lack of motivation, or it's just lowering of energy time, channel that positive energy, or what energy you could have or motivations you could have, towards your roots, into your home life, your family, into your health. And what you'll find is that is the source of motivation for you. That is the drive. And I do want to mention that it is positive to have a square from Jupiter, so you could be feeling inspired to maybe cultivate some of those roots, and again, maybe some of your goals. But with the square, we do have to be aware of the exuberance or over extremes with Jupiter squares, because Jupiter expands in a square. It can sometimes be a bit of overconfidence, exuberance, excess, over optimism at times. So keeping a cool head, being aware of if there is this pendulum swinging between the over extremes or under extremes of what we can do, what we can accomplish. And as long as you have that awareness, you have good balance, then utilizing that inspiration when it's there. But know that it's there. You do have positive energy again with those foundations, also with your self and your goals and your drives. And I think it's a great week to, again, cultivate those things in your life. All right, and then as we go into the weekend, the Sun will be squaring up to Pluto. So with this one, again, although a lot of positive energy with the first house, this one is suggesting there might be some things coming up around Friday that might have to do with control, maybe not with you, maybe with relationships or partnerships, something like that, but probably having to do with your personal life in some sense, which has been Pluto in your fourth house. But whatever it is, being aware of that. Again, all these squares and oppositions, these challenging aspects, are best utilized when we have awareness, when we have presence, and then it balances it out. So if you are feeling the control, wanting to have things a certain way or whatever, or if it's coming to you from an outside source, being aware of that and letting the ego sort of take the back seat, having acceptance in our life, again, a bit of detachment, and that can be a good way of working with this. And as a result, you'll probably find that there is some old patterns being released, some old triggers, some old psychological things that, although may come up through awareness, can certainly be transmuted. And that will result in your transformation, Sun in the first house, maybe a bit of that independence, positive energy. With that, also perhaps emotionally with Pluto in the fourth as well. All right, so Virgos, that's the week in a nutshell. Definitely an emphasis here on your life path, pulling you towards that spiritual development as it has been this year. Taking that seriously this week. Saturn here in your third, helping you get serious with learning, reading, writing, whatever it is that you have been taking seriously there this week. A great week for that, or this year rather, great week for that. And yeah, positive energy in your first house. Jupiter here, Mercury going into exaltation and leaving that 12th house, giving you perhaps a bit of independence and motivation to cultivate your personal needs in life. All right, so Virgos, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.